What's holding you back from success? Maybe you. Let's talk about it with entrepreneur and author Alan Morris on Steve Brown, etc.
He's an old white guy, an author, broadcaster, and seminary professor who's sick of religion. And he's brought friends. Please welcome Steve Brown, etc.
Hey, we're so glad you're here, that you would take some time from a busy schedule and spend it with us. And as I say and mean, each week we always have a place at our table, a seat designed particularly for you. I'm Steve, if you wondered, the aforementioned old white guy. Our executive producer, Matthew Porter, is here. If Matthew looks a bit sad, it's because he took a personality test and he failed.
I didn't even know there was an Enneagram type 0. So, yeah, I get it.
Matthew, it's good to have you back. He was meeting with other film directors in Germany last week, and it's not the same when you're not here, Matthew.
Thank you, Steve.
And our producer, Jinx, is working hard in his little glass booth. As a drummer, Jinx only has to count to 4, but as an audio guy, it's even better. 1, 2, testing, 1, 2. And our video director and one-man IT department, John Myers, is in his tech bunker. John, you'll be sure to edit out that last joke, right? It's embarrassing. And Dr. George Bingham is the president of Key Life. George knows that having a beard isn't what makes you a man, but it sure doesn't hurt. And Kathy Wyatt.
Did he say beer or beard?
Beard. Yeah. He said beard.
Oh, okay.
What did I say?
If you can't have one, have the other.
Okay, good. Because I can't grow a beard.
If the beard doesn't work, try beer. And Kathy Wyatt is the soft feminine side of the program. Kathy just changed all her passwords to incorrect. That was wise, because that way when she forgets and types it wrong, the computer reminds her, your password is incorrect. That is so bad.
Good work.
You can tell Matthew's been out of the country and he's jet lagged.
Getting back into it.
Guys, I've been looking forward to this program. Alan Morris is, we've been friends longer than a lot of you have been alive. And he serves as chairman and CEO of the Alan Morris Company, one of the largest real estate development firms in Florida and Georgia. In addition to being an officer and director of more than 100 real estate-related companies, Alan serves as president of a charitable foundation and art museum. He graduated from the Georgia Institute of Technology and Harvard Business School. He has appeared on Fox News and numerous other places and has authored numerous real estate articles and monthly blog. And his new book, which I hold in my nicotine-stained fingers, is called All In: How to Risk Everything for Everything That Matters. Alan, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Steve. It's a real pleasure to be with you. And I always am interested in anything you have to say and anything you have to write.
I'll tell you, Alan, one of the advantages, and when you guys read this book, and you need to read this book, you're going to wince at some of the things that Alan says. And you need to know what's going on. When you get old, you don't care. When you get old, you can say anything you want, anytime you want. And Alan, who, by the way, has done this when he was a lot younger, too. But Alan in this book is so authentic and honest. You want to say, Alan, I don't believe I would have said that. Alan, you could have taught the truths, and they're profound in this book, and we're going to get to them, without telling your story. Why? What prompt? Were you drinking or smoking pot or something when you decided to be this honest?
I think, Steve, the thing that I am most impressed by in a world where everyone is so polished and everyone is so packaged, and everyone is so well constructed, their personas in the business community that I live and work in, and in religious circles, that I just value authenticity and transparency more than anything else as the years go by.
You know, I bet you that a lot of the response that you're getting to your book, and maybe even surprising to you, I doubt it, but it is sometimes, is that people who read it say, good heavens, you too? I thought I was the only one. We're really a messed up race, aren't we?
Well, we're all hurting. Every single one of us, in my opinion, has their own secret, private life and their own private pain and their own private struggles and challenges every day. And we do a really good job of showing up and holding it all inside. But I believe that because of that, we also don't open ourselves up to the healing that we could have and the reconnection with joy that we could have in our lives, because we're working so hard to maintain our proper outward appearance. And gosh, I just see it just so much in the business world that I'm in.
Oh, you can double that in the religious world where I am. Our jobs depend on not being authentic. You need to let congregations and universities where you teach think that you've got it together, or they won't listen to you anymore. So this is a good book that ought to be read by Christian leaders too, very much so. Alan, tell us, man, you hit the wall, didn't you?
Yeah, I hit the wall pretty hard.
Tell us a little bit about that story.
Well, it really started when I thought I had everything under control. I had development projects going on, and a thriving business, and beautiful wife, and cute kids, and I started having severe headaches, like 24-hour a day headaches, and I was taking my extra strength Excedrin every 4 hours, and go to bed, take my Excedrin, and go to bed. Wake up 4 hours later, take my Excedrin, and go back to sleep, and start my day in the morning with my Excedrin. And after about a week of this, I said, this is truly not right. I need to go see a neurologist. So I went to the head of the neurosurgery department at my hospital, and he listened to me, and he said, well, I'll tell you right now, Alan, with your symptoms, you've got a brain tumor. So let's do the MRI and let's see where your tumor is, and then we'll know what our options are. So that's a real wake-up call.
Yeah, that'll do it.
And after going through the MRI and the CAT scan, he came back to me and said, look, I've examined the films myself, and I don't know what to tell you, but your tumor is not there. And I said, well, why are you calling it my tumor? It's not there. He didn't have a sense of humor. He said, well, I can give you beta blockers, and I can give you muscle relaxants, and I can give you pain meds so you won't be in any pain. I said, really? Is that the best you got? He said, I don't know what else to tell you. I said, well, if you're telling me there's no physical cause for this severe pain, then I have to accept that I must be creating this myself somehow. So I'll take the prescriptions but I want to get to the bottom of this and find out why I'm having this kind of severe pain and how it is I'm creating it. So I decided to take a step away from my business, step away from my church responsibilities, the ministry I was running, all the community things on the Orange Bowl Committee and the board of the Chamber of Commerce and the United Way and all these things that a lot of us in the community do. In the business community, we're committed to all kinds of things. Stepped away from everything and began working with a coach and a counselor, and was intent on getting to the bottom of myself, how it was I was creating these things. And that's how my journey started. I'd like to think I'm an intelligent, educated person, Steve, but the truth is I don't seem to learn the important things except from pain.
Guys, we're going to hear some more about this on the other side of the break. That's called a teaser in the profession. And this story is fabulous. And the truths that Alan got from it are life-changing. The name of the book is All In: How to Risk Everything for Everything That Matters. And so hang on, don't touch the dial, be still, wait, because like Jesus, we shall return. Hey, thanks for joining us. We're talking with my friend Alan Morris, and his book is titled All In: How to Risk Everything for Everything That Matters. And this is an amazing book. It is, in fact, a life-changing book, and it would be a great book for small group study, for you to read and give to your friends. And when they read it, they'll rise up and call you blessed. And you should know that Alan's not making a lot of money on this book. First, he doesn't need it. And secondly, it's every dime of the proceeds from the sale of Alan's book go to a charity organization, maybe to help others see some of the amazing things that Alan has seen. Alan, we're talking about responses to what you went through. Tell us about the campfire experience.
Well, as I said before, that I only seem to learn from pain. And I was sitting around on a retreat with a group of CEOs, company presidents, around a campfire. And one of the fellows said, "I just think this is a bunch of BS. You guys may need this stuff, but I don't." And I just said, "Well, it's clear your pain's just not great enough." And I thought I was just making an observation, and the other men in the circle all burst out in hysterical laughter because it was obvious to him that he was oblivious to what was going on in his own life. And he was so stunned at their laughter that he realized they all got something that he wasn't getting. And oftentimes it takes something surprising or shocking or painful to get our attention when we're not getting it in life, and we're not getting it in our relationships. And someone has asked me, how do you know when you're stuck? How do you know when you are not connecting the dots in your own life? And says, well, just look at the conflicts in your daily life. Look at the conflicts in your relationships. That's usually a litmus test. It's a little indicator that you're missing something. And at least that's seen how it works with me.
Mm-hmm. You went into a year to find out who you were.
I did.
What this was all about.
Yeah, I decided to take a 3-month sabbatical, and I hired somebody to come in and run my business for me for 3 months because I was going to step out and I was going to get to the bottom of my own life and try to understand why I had these conflicts. I had conflicts with two of the executives in my company. I had conflicts with one of my children, my teenage daughter, who was getting into trouble, and it was embarrassing and frustrating, and I couldn't seem to solve the problem with her. I had conflicts with my wife, who I loved, but I didn't understand what her problems were, and so as I began to take inventory, I discovered I had conflicts all around me. I was frustrated with people's expectations of me in all the different arenas where I was volunteering or where I was working, and I felt just overwhelmed. And my 3-month sabbatical ended up taking 3 years. And I don't recommend that everybody has to do that. As a matter of fact, I wrote the book so you could take a shortcut and not have to go through what I went through.
Oh, Alan, I know this has cost you big, but there's a sense in which that's like Jesus. Our healing cost him big too. And so at one point, at least in the ways you describe in your book and the painful time you went through, embarrassing, frustrating, so dark at times, you were doing that for other people in a sense. And I rise up and call you blessed for it.
Well, thank you.
Matthew.
It's the journey. It's the journey that we're called to. Each one of us, I believe each one of us is wrestling with pain, either under the surface or on the surface, and conflicts that we don't even know how to talk about. And I believe this is where God wants to heal us, wants to bring healing into our lives as we open ourselves up to seeing the blind spots that keep us stuck. It's
called the shadow, isn't it?
Well, that's what Carl Jung, the psychologist, called it, is the shadow in our lives, where we stuff things like the traumas or the pain from our childhood, that we say, oh, well, that happened in the past. That happened when I was a kid. That happened when I was a teenager. Yeah, it was lousy, but I put it behind me. And I've gone on with life. And to a certain extent, our ability to put things behind us, I believe, is a great gift. It keeps us, maybe it saved your life by being able to put that behind you and not think about it. But after a certain time, just putting it behind you doesn't serve you anymore. It didn't serve me anymore. Because when we put it behind us, it really goes in a backpack that's like right there, right behind our head. And it's close at hand. And I didn't realize that things from my childhood, things from my life experience, wounds that I carried, were affecting every decision and every way I looked at everything around me. And I wasn't even aware of it. And that's the power of our inner life, or our shadow, as Carl Jung would describe it. And I believe that God is there in our shadow, very comfortable with the ugliest, most painful parts of our lives that we don't want to look at, that we want to keep behind us, even though we don't know it's continuing to affect us every day. So.
Was there a point where, because I think a lot of times, Alan, somebody will have a problem, they'll bump up and they're like, look, I just need to assess what I'm doing and figure out how to do it better. But there's a crossroads that you got to where you're like, that's not going to cut it for what I'm dealing with. I'm going to have to make a choice whether or not to commit to this process. Is probably going to be kind of grueling and brutal to go back into the cave, from a Joseph Campbell point of view. We're running out of time in this segment, but I would love to hear a little bit about what that process was like, and what it involved, and kind of what encouragement would you give somebody else who's like, yeah, I'm thinking about it, but maybe I'll just muscle it out one more day. So
It's more than the power of positive thinking. And
yeah, thanks, Norman Vincent Peale. Yeah.
There's deep, beautiful healing ahead.
In fact, you may find that people read your book and say, I'm not going there. I don't need that kind of pain. I've got my nose above water, and I'm going to keep treading water here until I die. I'm not going to try to fix something that I don't have to fix right now. That's a bad idea. With doctors and dentists, and with your life also. And we're going to hear more about it when we come back. The name of the book is All In: How to Risk Everything for Everything That Really Matters. You don't want to miss a bit of this. Hey, we're hanging out with Alan Morris. And by the way, you can find out more about this book and some incredible resources that are available to you and that will increasingly become available. There's going to be a webinar in the future. And if you go to allinbook.com, that's allinbook.com, you can find out about the book and a bunch of other good life-changing stuff. And by the way, you can keep up with Alan at W. Alan Morris
on Twitter. Yeah. Alan, before the break, we were talking about that kind of process of like, am I going to patch this thing together for one more day, or am I going to get to the root of the problem of the
Right.
pain? And, that common idea of the beginning of dysfunction is the avoidance of pain. So you really committed. Wonder if you could tell us a little bit about what that process looked like for you, and then what you learned on the other side of that.
Well, I had to be open to listening to things I didn't particularly want to hear, but I knew I wanted the healing. Very selfishly, I wanted to get rid of the headaches, and I wanted to find out how I was creating those headaches. And I also wanted to be free from the stress of the conflicts that I had in my life. And I began to discover that a lot of those conflicts I was causing myself. I was tolerating things in my life that I should never tolerate. As one counselor told me, Alan, tolerate nothing. Because if you're tolerating it means you're carrying resentment and anger and pain, and you don't like something, you don't like some relationship, and yet you're continuing to live with it when you can choose not to, by either changing yourself or changing your relationship. And I discovered that I was tolerating a lot of things in my life because I discovered one of the things was that I was a codependent, an addicted codependent, where I was too obsessed with wanting to help other people and wanting to help fix other people. And I couldn't see the truth about myself, that I was doing so much for so many that I began to resent all the things I was doing at work and resenting the things I was doing as a volunteer to help others, which is a lousy way to help others with stuffed resentment inside. But the truth of the matter was I resented the church for helping out and doing as an elder in my church. I resented God because he was the one that was telling me I should do all these things for all everybody else, I thought. And I never thought it was possible for me to be resenting God at the same time I was serving other people. But that's what happens when you are addicted codependent and thoroughly in my addiction. And you combine that with my workaholic addiction and my achievement addiction. I had to be a really, really hard person to live with. I'm a hard enough person to live with now, but I had to be a really terrible person to live with then.
Oh, I bet.
That was part of my journey.
Kathy?
Alan, I want to ask you a quick question about success. I think when we're younger, I think we all think we know what it is that we want to do or the direction that we think maybe we would like to go that will lead us to success. Sometimes that changes as we work our way through life because things don't exactly look the same. For people who come from a background where they wouldn't necessarily describe their family history as terribly successful, I don't know that makes them more driven. I suspect that maybe not. As somebody like from your background, I mean, you come, those of us that spent a lot of years in Miami, we know all about the Alan Morris Company. We know, about the success from which you came. And success is kind of a weird thing, I think, because can it not numb you to some of the serious problems and issues that you really do need to deal with because you have all of this success?
Well, I think that we can stay so busy doing anything, whether it's successful or whether it's meaningless. As long as we stay really, really busy, that'll keep us numb. A lot of the men that I know and work with, and we've worked with hundreds of men and hundreds of retreats that we've done with men, the common theme that I see is that these oftentimes very successful men, professional men, sometimes CEOs or C-suite executives, all share a common feeling that they are not good enough. It's like the big secret that everyone is carrying, that everyone seems to feel like they're not good enough, and their greatest fear is being found out that they're not all that they should be, all that they expect they should be.
Oh, man, that is profound. Guys, don't go anywhere. You'll regret it because all your friends will say, you missed that segment. That was the best of the hour. So sit tight. Don't touch the dial on your radio or you'll get the hives. Hey, thanks for joining us. I'm excited to let you know that on October the 17th, for the first time ever, we're going to record this show in front of a live audience, if we can keep them awake. And it's going to be right here in Central Florida. It's free, and we hope that you'll be able to join us if you live within driving distance. You can go to keylife.org events and get a lot of the details. And our guest on this program is Alan Morris. And I hope you're listening deeply because this is really important stuff.
Well, Alan, we were talking some off the on the break, and in fact, even I want to throw in something else. I mean, you have targeted your book and your study and work and so forth to a large extent with leaders, but it really can apply to pretty much anybody. And in terms of applying some of the discovery principles, and one of the things that you share about and really applies to a lot of people is that factor of the father in their background, the father wound, and how much difference that can make. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, first, your comment about leaders is a good one, and that is, I believe that that all of us are leaders. And we're leaders in our relationships. We're leaders whether we intend to be or whether we want to be with our children. We're leaders in our in our place of work, and because of the influence that we have on those people around us, our colleagues. It's not restricted to CEOs or United States senators. We're all leaders, and or we are becoming leaders. So I think it's important to realize that what happens in our lives and what's going on in our lives is having a ripple effect on the lives of everyone around us. And in the same way, a lot of the men that we work with discover that they are carrying a wound in their lives from maybe their childhood or their young adulthood, where it related to their father and their relationship with their father, what we would call a father wound, and oftentimes are trying to prove that they're good enough for the admiration, the respect, the acceptance of their father, even if their father has been dead for 20 years. They carry this drive. And I'm sure a lot of my drive was to want to be seen and respected by my father, because I was sent away to military school when I was 14 years old. And my father didn't see me. He didn't come to visit me because he was very, very busy with his own life and chasing his own success. And it didn't mean that he didn't love me, and that he and my mother, I knew, loved me, but it felt to me as abandonment. I wasn't abandoned, but I felt that I was. And so that also created a real drive in my life to be seen, to be respected, to achieve and accomplish. And I just didn't know when to stop.
Yeah.
So that can be a terrifying burden to carry for all of us who have different kinds of wounds, whether it's a father wound or whether it's another kind of a trauma or injury from our childhood.
And Alan, you touched on something important there. In the book, you talk about John Eldridge and the father wound, and something he says is really important, I thought, where he says, you don't have to, it's not necessarily a bad father who gives you a father wound. He could be, like you said, a loving father, a present father, all those kind of things. It doesn't matter, if they're a deadbeat dad or a very present dad, because by dint of the fact that we're human and we're sinful, there's some kind of wound. And I think that's kind of freeing for people to address it. It's not having to say, okay, my dad was a terrible person. Now let me look at this thing. It's like, no, your dad was good.
Right.
It seems like it can give them permission to explore this.
And I loved my father very much, and I had a very close relationship with him, especially in the later years. And it doesn't mean that a father intentionally wounds and injures his child, whether it's his father, whether it's his son or his daughter. But it can be intentional or it can be unintentional.
Right.
And it's just the nature of relationship and the nature of the way we grow up in life, I believe. And I know my sisters carry a father wound that was an unintentional wound that they got from both my father and my mother. So I think the important thing to know is that we carry these wounds from whatever source, and God wants us to experience healing in our inner life, because from that healing comes freedom, and from that freedom comes joy and creativity, and that's what gets us unstuck in those areas of life where we're stuck. And I found it translated into a huge amount of release of freedom and joy and creativity in my own life. I started doing things that I never had the time to do, that were not serious, important business things, where I took some training in martial arts and got so excited about it, I ended up becoming a black belt and then became a Taekwondo master. I started flying airplanes because I had loved flying as a college student. And I ended up going all the way with that and becoming a certified FAA jet captain. And all those things gave me a connection to my joy. With some people, it's going to be golf. For some people, it's going to be stamp collecting or gardening. Everybody's different. But when you connect with your passion, whatever that happens to be for you, it releases a new kind of creativity. And we started developing buildings that were different. It changed our whole company mission statement because we started building things that were an expression of our passion. And if something didn't excite us and inspire us, we said, we're not going to build it. I don't care how profitable it is. We're going to wait. We're going to redesign it, or we're going to go to the next thing to do something that's in line with our mission to inspire, impress, and improve. And that turned out to be our new mission statement for our company. And it wasn't until later I realized I loved it so much is because it was my own personal mission statement. I'm slow at getting these things sometimes.
Alan, it's been so good having you with us. And obviously, we only scratched the surface. You got to get this book, All In, How to Risk Everything for Everything That Matters. Trust me on this. It's a life-changing book. It's an honest book, and you'll wince, but God will use it. Alan, God bless you. Thanks again.
It's an honor to be with you, Steve, and anytime you're talking, I'm listening.
Guys, we're going to tell you who we're going to do it unto next week, so don't go away.
Thank you.
What a great hour. Alan is a longtime friend, going back years and years and years. So I've been able to watch some of this, and it's the real deal. Not only when he talks about what he went through, when he talks about his father was a close friend of mine too. And I was able to speak at his father's funeral and to tell some stories about his father. And his sister served on the board at Key Life for a long time. Sometimes when you read a book like All In by Alan, you think that's nonsense. They're writing that to make a buck. And Alan doesn't need a buck. And you need to know that this is the real deal, and that this book speaks a message that every one of us need to hear. Everybody who's watching or listening right now to this program, you've got secrets. And that includes everybody that's on this program. And the secrets are so deep that we haven't told anybody but God. And if they were revealed, we think we would die. The world would come to an end, and we would be ashamed and have to move to a cave in the mountains somewhere. You might be surprised. Jesus didn't die for popcorn stuff. He died for the secrets, for the profound things, the things that shame us and make us feel guilty. So get this book, read it, and put a check mark on it, because I know the author. I know the author of the Bible too, so you can read both. And rest assured, they're the real deal. Kathy, who's going to be on next week?
Next week, our friend David Zoll, and we haven't had him on in a long time. He has a new book out called Low Anthropology. Get this. This is the whatever you call it, the second title or whatever. It's the unlikely key to a gracious view of others and yourself.
All right.
It's getting so most everybody we have on the program, I knew their fathers. I already feel old because I am old, and it doesn't help much.
Well, his father is still alive.
Excuse me. I know that.
Oh, okay.
Talked to him last week.
Oh, okay, good.
Hey, guys, we're out of here. But we're going to come back, and I'm getting ready to sneeze. Nothing worse than feeling like you're going to sneeze and can't. But we're going to be here next week. Hope you'll join us same time, same place. And between now and then, don't do anything we wouldn't. That gives you a wide, wide berth.